You've got a good one over there.
Why do we have such a don't go?
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll get our meeting started. If everybody'd have a seat, please. Call the meeting to order. Awards, presentations, and appointments. Philip, you got something you'd like to speak on?
Well, Mayor, Tuesday night, we'll have a life safety award, fire and police. So that'll be at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. 3A, completion review and unfinished business from prior meeting. Corey?
If it's okay with y'all, I would like to move that one to the bottom and talk about it, add it to AC.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Which one?
3A to A
3A
to
to
8C.
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 Yes, sir.
Oh, that makes it all better.
Yeah.
All right, monthly report from Mayor. Tuesday night, I'll speak briefly on the Christmas tree lighting, and we had a great event. Weather didn't hold out, of course, but it was a good event. A lot of folks showed up and had a lot of good food, and it was nice to have. So, Schiffer, monthly financial and budget report, please.
I'll have the report on Tuesday. as
Okay.
usual.
Philip, report from city manager.
Tuesday night, I'll have a full report for you.
7A, wastewater liaison and barge design.
There'll be a brief report because we're at the end of the consent order and almost closed out. I'm working on close out of the wastewater treatment plant.
All right. Mount Pleasant Gas.
Gas, it'll be a small report again Tuesday night. Next month, you'll see some of the engineering contracts for the gate station in Cherry Glen for the grant
Good,
to apply for.
good. All right. 8A, resolution 2025-54, resolution to abandon and discontinue the annexation proceedings of certain territory located on Old Zion Road Extension in Trotwood. Corey?
Yes, so as you all know, all three of these items are all related to the proposed annexation on Old Zion and Trotwood. The first resolution that you just called out is doing what it says. It would abandon and discontinue these proceedings. I've drafted a resolution. It's supported by state law. That's something that you can do. The resolution will be in your packet. The next one is, it's easier to talk about them all together if that's okay with y'all.
That's right.
The next resolution on the agenda would be to actually annex that territory. Okay. So, and then the third thing would be to zone it. So my thoughts would be that on Monday or Tuesday, you vote on 2025-54. If that motion or that resolution passes to abandon the proceedings, then these proceedings are abandoned, and that means that 8B and 8C are moot. Okay. That's the explanation for what those are, and so now I'll turn it over to y'all and talk about them.
Well, appreciate the work that's been put into it. Apologize to all of y'all that has had to sit through this. That's me now. I apologize that y'all had to sit through this for 5 months? And I also apologize to our planning commission, most of all. That's who we look for to get our directions to move forward. And again, I apologize, and Jack, I apologize to you for whatever your family has been through on this as well.
Mayor,
Yes,
can I speak?
yes, please. Sure.
You'll have to excuse me. I messed my neck up, so I can't really look you in the eye tonight like I always try to do. First of all, I think it's been extraordinary the amount of people that have shown up at these meetings, especially this week. And that says a lot about the community. A lot of people here, there on Monday weren't necessarily part of this community of the area that we're talking about. But for the fact that you guys have continued to come and you galvanized and you formed a team, basically, it says a lot about this town. And that's just the unusual thing to happen, especially in this day and age, because people are so polarized. I felt like money got a little out of hand. And one of the things that was brought up in not a very nice way many times was basically what Mike was apologizing for, is the fact that this took so long. But this took so long because of a lot of things that were completely and totally out of our control. So today I asked Corey if she would provide you with a timeline of everything that's happened since our initial meeting, and why votes weren't taken and why it took until this month to actually get to the point that we are now. So, Corey.
Sure.
May I ask something? Have y'all two talked about this?
No.
She asked me for a
asked her-
timeline and I gave it
wanted
to
see
her.
a timeline to make sure that my recollection was correct.
I just want to make sure, because you said now you're turning it over to Corey. So that sort of leads me to think that maybe something was going, that now all of a sudden Corey wants to say what you want to say.
No, Mike.
She can read the list as well.
I'll
I mean,
read the list myself.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure that the timeline was accurate because in my recollection, we had not voted on this since August. Everything else has transpired because of all of the different things that happened. There are so many regulations and rules about when things have to be posted, how far ahead they have to be posted. You have to take in consideration when you have to notify the newspapers to give them enough time to have things posted. And it becomes a real nightmare of logistics. And that's basically what happened every time. We would get to a point and then it would get pushed out again. I'm happy to read the whole thing out for you. But the reality is we haven't even had a chance to really even speak, because we couldn't do that in the general meeting until this point. And that's where there seemed to be so much upset on the meeting on Monday. Give me a second here.
What she's looking, we did have a chance to speak after the meeting Monday.
Okay. So on August 19th, we were presented with ordinance 2025-1135, the first reading, to vote for the properties to be annexed. That vote passed. Resolution 2025-41 was a set a public hearing for annexation and plan of services. That vote passed. And I'm just going to go back and cover my whole thing since I'm doing it. I'm on the planning commission, and on the planning commission, I voted to annex the property. I did not vote for the plan of services because the truth is I didn't know a whole lot. Staff had given us as much information as they could give us about it, and I didn't feel comfortable in going forward at that time with it. After that meeting, we were presented with, from the company that was going to do it, we were given a very, very thorough explanation and a lot of information. And based on that and more research that I did and talking to other people about just where things have been put in other places in the counties around here, I felt much more comfortable about it, and I voted to go ahead and go forward with it at the commission meeting. So I was the only person that changed their vote and voted to go ahead with both the annexation. I voted for the annexation because, and I've been consistent from day one, when I first started running for this commission seat, that I want to see us grow, and I want to see us grow carefully. One of the things, and we couldn't really even consider what the plan of services was, well, services, yes, but not what was actually going to be on the property, other than the fact that it could only take up so much room. But one of what they wanted to do, if they were the ones that to do the Mir company, which I'd never heard of the Mir construction before this all happened. Don't know anything. I think I've talked to Jack twice. Thank you. How you doing? I asked him a question one time. That's it. But what they were saying they were wanting to do, and if that happened, would be great for us. Because right now, if you want to move to Mount Pleasant, buy a house, you got to buy a house. There are very few townhomes. There's some that I don't even know why they were built there over Florida, but it would be really lovely to have an area where we've got townhomes, smaller houses, some larger houses. So there's a little more variety for people that are coming in that don't have the money to buy a house. We bought our house in February of 2020. I could not buy our house today. And I think most of us are in that situation where things are just so high right now. So in my mind, this was a wonderful way to have a development that could have homes available to a wide variety of price points. Okay, September 11th, the public hearing was canceled, and we did not have a vote. It was canceled because notice was inadequate in order to conduct additional research on how to handle Old Zion Road, because if I'm right, Corey, that came up when you guys did more research that the Old Zion Road was not actually annexed, so that had to be looked into, and then that had to go out. So September 11th was a study session, no vote because it was study session. September 16th, we voted to defer, and I believe I'm right in saying we voted to defer because we were still waiting for the information about Zion Road. On October 16th was a study session. We could not vote. October 21st, we voted to set a public hearing because I think, if I'm not wrong, we had to have another public hearing set. So we voted to set the hearing only. The October 20th, the first letter to the county commission, I'm not sure what that is. We learned about the Christmas tree parade and after the 21st meeting, and then staff started sending notices out on October 24th to make sure we had adequate notice for the public hearing. On December 8th, we had the public hearing, no vote, public hearing only, and that brings us to today. And then we are going to look over these resolutions. The whole point is that there was never an attempt by this body, city staff, or anybody to make this so drawn out. This is war, and it's nobody's fault. It's just the way it is. But our staff is worn out. I mean, this has taken everybody's energy from the whole city to get this done. And so there was no way, I certainly didn't want to be up here all this time and have to sit through all these meetings and be not able to speak. It's not fun. Then I would just like to say one more thing. A couple more things really, but my opinion really never changed on anything except when I got more information. When I got more information, I made a different decision. I made the decision that to not want to continue with the plan of services several weeks ago because there was more information coming out about the company. I did not do that this week or last week. It's been weeks, but we couldn't talk about that. So we had to sit here and let us get, but that's okay. You didn't know. But that's my job as a commissioner, is to try to keep learning. I don't think it's a job to just make a decision and that's it and I'm done. When things are still in play, I should be continuing to research. I should be continuing to make sure that what I am voting on meets my conscience. And that's why when I changed my mind, when I felt like this is way too much risk for the city to take on, I made that decision, but I couldn't speak to that until tonight. I'm not going to go out on a limb on numbers. I'm not going to speak to that. But I will say this. I would not be here and have not probably said something publicly if there weren't a lot of people that are on the other side. This has been horrible for me personally. We've had cars hang out at our house. I mean, I started carrying mace when I walk around town because of some of the stuff that's being said about me. Why would I, just ask yourself that, why would I, pretty nice person, want to continue to be up here if it didn't matter? And I didn't know that there were people, but then that changed when I realized that this was getting too risky for the city. I'm very proud of this town and love this town. I don't want to see again, I love the fact that all of you are so here. I love the fact that your son was here and then he got up and spoke. I thought that was amazing. And anyways, I've spoken with every single person that asked me to speak to them. I've answered every phone call. I've tried to reply to every email, but honestly, folks, some of those emails went on after page after page after page, rambling down every rabbit hole. And if you caught me on a day where we had one of those and you were the third email, I just quit. You can't deal with it after a certain point. I stayed off Facebook, but I've been told things. And so that's for folks' mission on that. I do not feel at this point that there's any reason to continue on. I do think it's kind of a crazy miracle for those of you that have been so adamant about and really very honestly concerned about the sanctity of that area as a battleground, because of the Murray County moratorium, which I had no idea was going to happen. You now, if you've really got people lined up that are wanting to invest in that land, now you got the opportunity to go do that. And I would get on it. And the beautiful thing about that is really you've already galvanized this huge, how many did we have here on Monday? Way over 100 people. So you've already got that core group. I would challenge you to go get it. Get those people with the money, get it done. I mean, nothing would be greater than what a great story that this little town came together. And this delay has actually allowed you the time, because that didn't happen, I think, till Monday, where they made the Murray County decision, or last week.
Not sure.
So now you actually have that opportunity to go out there and get it done. And that would be amazing. And I would support that 110%. But anyways, I appreciate you giving me the time. I can't even drink my water because I can't put my head back, so I got to stop talking. But thank you.
Mike?
Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I think this here is apologetic just as well as mine. But I think Miss Pam said during these meetings, she said now she didn't know about Jack's building, but I think she said that Jack done great work at
I
building.
said I had driven
Is that,
through the
is that not
neighborhood.
correct, Jack? Let me ask you.
I don't remember.
I'm just saying, and she said also in one of the meetings, the reason that she was changing her mind was because of possibly a lawsuit. You can go back and read it. You can see
That's
it.
exactly what I just said. I would be putting the city at too much risk. And you can go back and look at the videos. What I said was,
Yes.
I did my due diligence because I had never
Well-
heard of the mayors. And I went and drove through neighborhoods that they had built. And I was very impressed with the quality of work they did.
But
That's what I
because-
said.
But because of certain people at this table right here tonight, this lingered on, that shouldn't have never been lingered on, and put you people in that position, and as well as Jack. To me, I personally feel maybe Jack is being left out there on a tree limb.
Ms.
That's
Williams?
me. Good evening. I know I haven't said a lot, but this property was brought to us at the owner's request to be considered for annexation into the city of Mount Pleasant. I have listened and I chose not to respond while I was gathering information. At that time, I knew nothing about the drip system. I knew nothing about that land, but it was only fair that you give him the opportunity to try to come into the city if he could. That was only fair to his application. But over these last months, I've learned a lot. And with that being said, the drip system is not good for Mount Pleasant. I never once said it was. I did vote for the R3, but any other vote besides that one, I have not voted yes to annexation. I have not voted yes to the plan of services. We never had the opportunity to vote, and that will all come Tuesday. But we have a brand new sewage plant out there that I think the citizens of Mount Pleasant, we're going to have to pay for that. So it's not fair to me to allow a drip system to come in on property that they're going to get out of helping us pay for this sewage plant. So for me, it's a no for it to be annexed in, plan of services, because, and like Pam said, we never got to this point unless we had to go through those procedures, because that was per our attorney, we was asked not to respond unless we had the correct information. At the time, I didn't have no information, and I know a lot of you emailed me, called me, text, but I couldn't tell you nothing that I didn't know. I have worried people. I have went to TDEC, yeah. And I looked at the same posters y'all looked at, and I've heard every comment, and that helped me because by y'all coming, that let me know it wasn't a good idea. And I don't know if we allow this drip system to come into our city, how many more we're gonna allow. So I'm not for it. I wasn't for it from the beginning. I said it in July that I was not for the drip system because once we accept it into our city limit, it will become our babies. And I still feel that way. I hadn't changed on that, but I did learn a lot, and I do appreciate y'all coming out, telling how you feel. I've listened. No, I did not respond because if you respond with the wrong or incorrect information, it will be blasted everywhere. So why do it when you don't even know? So tonight, I can fully tell you I'm not for it. In my opinion from July, I think we had the first, and from the public hearing, the first one we had was the other night. I thank y'all for coming, and I do understand where you come from, and I got it. So thank you.
Ms. Lori?
So I want to start first with just thanking all of you for coming each time we met and being able to sit here and conduct yourself appropriately. You know my stance. You knew it from the beginning. You know it now. Thank you for coming out. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Oh, I guess it's my turn. You got to worry about that one. It's better, but I'm not quite there yet. I want to reiterate what everybody else has said up here is number one, thank you for being here, and we're sorry for how long this has taken. It proved to me the number one reason that I feel like we're not ready for this is our community's not ready for it. We don't have the planning, zoning, ordinances, that type of thing in place to make this be a success in our community. Until we do, we don't need to have it. Now, I have heard every word that everybody said, and I have been much like Miss Willie as I've chosen not to respond to most of those because of the fact that if you did, you were going to be on the other side, and that was not a pretty place to be. I have found out, thankfully I am not a Facebook user, but I have found out by what friends and acquaintances have sent me that have been posted about me on Facebook are just not accurate. And I would like for each of you that just chose to make those posts to remember that I am a father and a grandfather, and they had to see it. Until our community is ready with the proper planning, zoning, ordinances, and things in place to do this, I am not for this, and I have not been for it for a good period of time, but I have kept my mouth shut because of the fact of I had our community attorney tell me to be very careful what I said because of the fact that how it can be construed outside of what is said here. We just spent roughly $18 million on a sewer system, which would anything that we could do to take some of that burden off the current citizens, I'm going to get a look at. I think that's what's important. A number of our constituents here have said that they would love to see more dining opportunities, shopping opportunities. And you're going to have rooftops to do that. So I think we need to continue to look at options for having more rooftops. Maybe not in this density, not in this area. Much like what Miss Willie said, I sat down personally with Mr. Tom at the Historical Society to get his take on this. And I asked very clearly, and he agreed, and I spoke to it at one of our meetings. Well, if it meant that much to this group, then why haven't you purchased this property? And his answer was, Bill, we are more reactive than we are proactive. So that is not necessarily the community's fault. I am sorry again that y'all have had to go through this. I even took my own time to travel to Wilson County to see what we all see on the news every time you cut it on now. And I'm going to be very open and honest to you. It is not pretty. But if you think I'm just making this because this is what's happened tonight, I have spent my own time, money, and energy to educate myself of what would be right and what would be wrong. I feel like that's my responsibility as an elected official of the Mount Pleasant of Tennessee. And again, I'm sorry we've had to take this time, but I have followed through very closely with attorneys' recommendations. And for that very reason, and it has been this way for some period of time, my vote is that we abandon and discontinue the annexation proceedings. All right.
May I ask one other thing? I know when we've gone through this before, Corey, and I guess I learned something tonight. That we are supposed to go by the 4 items on our sheet, right? And you said that far as the audience, our constituents, they could not decide or make us change our mind. It had to go by those 4 items on that list. So now I've learned that I don't have to go by the list. I can go by what the community wants.
Don't understand what you're asking.
I think he's talking about the orange list.
The orange list is for zoning.
Yeah.
But you have said in a meeting that we go by that list. We can't go by what the people say. Now there's been so many people that showed up during this right here. It is, you mattered to me in the very beginning. But
I think you matter to everybody, but if everybody wasn't clear on what they was voting on or what was going on at the time, I'm not going to sit here and say no, because that wouldn't be fair to our builders till we give the opportunity to know about a step system, the property that y'all was talking about. So I'm not going to say that I appreciate y'all coming, but I think all of us cared, but it was the way that we had to go by to get to this point. So, and I think what he's saying is when we're zoning, we have a sheet to go by, reason why we're going to not zone it, or reason why it need to be zoned. I think this here is just on something totally different as far as annexation and the plan of services. So we don't have to go by that sheet because we're not zoning nothing. So if this is going to be gone away with, none of that matters.
we're not zoning nothing.
If you
We
want to
already did,
vote-
I know, we're not.
If y'all get to item 3A, if the ordinance 2025-1135, if that comes up for your consideration, those orange cards, which I think off of my memory is like section 4.7 of your zoning ordinance with those 4 factors, then you have to follow it.
But right now, they don't matter.
Because that's your zoning ordinance that's applicable to your zoning.
I'm good. I mean, I'm glad it's being voted down. I'm just saying, we do things different sometimes.
But that's not what's happening.
Well, I hope not. I hope not for Jack's case.
All right, any other comments from the commission?
No, sir.
All right. General comments from citizens. We got Mr. Jack Mayer.
Appreciate you guys. Obviously, I can read the tea leaves as well as anybody at this point. I appreciate you guys taking the time to consider this. our long-term goal will remain to do a project in Mount Pleasant. That's the goal that we've had in Spring Hill for years, is to fill the need of the people at the time. It's changed a lot over the years. That was a need that we saw here. That need still exists. And so I hope that we find another piece of property at a different time and are able to work it. I appreciate you guys' consideration. It's definitely the most public involvement we've ever had on a project. And so it's clear that people care about this area. And so hopefully we'll be a permanent fixture in it one day. But until then, appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thank you, Jack. Rob Mulchin?
Thanks, Stuart.
Okay, next two are good. Charles Craig? Thank you, sir.
Tonight's not a vote, just.
No,
for
it's
the
not a
record.
vote. Please understand that it is not a vote. This is just a study session. But the vote will be held on Tuesday night. Danette?
You did good last night, or last time.
Panameski?
Oh, man.
Pomaski?
All right, I'm just gonna say real quick, I really appreciate all your time and everything as far as where this is heading. We're very happy with this. Just want you to consider for everything that's going on with the water, because that's gonna be our next thing. We got a big meeting there. We're gonna be down there fighting on that. But we're not opposed to the growth. We would like it to remain in the feel of Mount Pleasant. We don't want to Spring Hill this area. We don't want these high density homes. If they were in down here, if you wanted to build them where people could walk downtown, and we're talking about townhomes or something, I'm not against that either, but that's not a $400,000 townhome is not affordable housing for somebody that doesn't want to buy a house. You know what I'm saying? So just on the, we've already got a couple high density builds going on. There's nothing we can do about that at this point. We'll see where that goes, but we got the Sugar Creek going on. Those are nice little homes. Wanted to do a small. We just need to rein in the building until the water situation gets resolved. Smaller, little townhome. We don't need 200 and nothing in Mount Pleasant. There's just not the demand for the houses right now. There's tons of houses up for sale. Like there's over 110 houses for sale currently, plus the new builds going on. The affordability. Just need to consider it all for everybody that lives in Mount Pleasant, because we're going to get outpriced. The people that are here, water bills going up, the property value is going up, everything. We got senior citizens and everything that are going to, basically lose everything they have because they can't afford Mount Pleasant anymore. We're not Franklin, we're not Spring Hill, we're Mount Pleasant. We're a cute little town. You build some restaurants, some cute little things. People will drive here just to get out of all that. Nice little day trip to come down and visit. That's all I have to say on that. But again, I appreciate y'all and what you've been doing. So
All right.
thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. All right, that's all we've had to sign. Yes, sir.
According to Exhibit F, they had decided they was going to put 74,100 gallons of water a day into the field up there. You divide that by 20 acres, that comes up with 3,700 gallons to the acre a day that they were planning on putting on this property. Expect that to just keep on going and going and going. That's 3,700 gallons a day to put it to the acre. And that just, I talked to a soil scientist and he said, if there's no rock on the property and weather conditions were ideal, that it could possibly do that, but nothing like that is going to happen. I mean, we're going to have wet weather and you get too much on there and it's going to run off. And anyway, it would have failed eventually. To start with, it may have worked, but when they got up to this 74,100 gallons a day, that's just, it wouldn't have worked. Thank you.
All right. All righty, that's all we've had signed up to speak. Yes,
I
sir.
didn't sign up to speak, but I would like to say something.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't mind, it's kind of a struggle sometimes to stand up, but, this is to address y'all and to Jack. I grew up and I worked small town on the city of Goodlettsville. I was there 33 years. I worked for the fire department. I was a captain. And when we started, when we started booming, right after I got off, our run total, and I'm speaking just as for us, they treated us just like a Metro Fire Hall, even though we was an entity of our own. We ran hand in hand with the Metro Fire Department. We trained with them. We made calls with them, had automatic aid with them. So that means we also responded outside of our city limits just as a regular engine company. We went from a 5 square mile city limits to a 21 square mile response system. When I left in 2017, I should say I left, I retired. We were the 5th busiest hall in Davidson County. And we were an outlying city limits north of Nashville, up I-65. We had a lot of apartments built, townhouses built, and it just really increased our runs. In a 24-hour shift, on my shift, I can't count for the others, but being the 5th busiest hall in Davidson County, we averaged 17 calls a shift. 17 calls a shift with 5 men. I think if we're going to look at growing more, we need to expand our city services with the fire and police. And Jack, you said something about Spring Hill. I moved to Mount Pleasant because I don't want to be like Spring Hill. We lived in Spring Hill and we moved here 7 years ago. I lived in Goodlettsville up until I moved here 20 years ago. So we don't want to have National Highway. Annapolis is ruined. That was some of the most prettiest land. And one of the reasons why we moved here was because when I was growing up in Goodlettsville, this had the same small town feel as Goodlettsville did. Everybody supports the football team that supports the youth group, the youth leagues here. And I don't know where you grew up at, but that means a lot in a small town. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir.
And appreciate y'all's time as well. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. All right.
Bill, I want to just add one thing, and you're talking about the homes. There's 362 homes coming into Mount Pleasant right now. So y'all remember that about our water situation.
Oh, I want to say one more.
I have something to say. Paul Ellison.
Mayor, just 1 second. Can you ask everybody who's looking to give their name?
I'm going to be less than
It's
3
for
minutes.
minutes. It's
Uh-huh.
nothing.
Paul
Everybody-
Ellison, 1845
and
Terrapin
then
Branch.
Jude.
Hold on.
Charles Center, 606.
Are you, is this recorded?
Alright, it is recording, so that's what we're good, as long as you
Perfect.
state it.
Yes,
I need it
absolutely.
For the minutes, because
I appreciate that. I want to be recorded, just like everything y'all have said has been recorded from day one, and I appreciate that. I don't think that the people here are trying to agitate anyone who has switched over to clearly what should be voted for, and it should have been voted for from day one. However, I would like to say that on the record, certain people that we met with, certain people that went online and voted for this from day one, against and against. We want you to know that this does matter, not just because of us, and I appreciate what you said earlier. It was, let's look at the facts before we make up our mind. If it's a yes, it's a yes. If it's a no, it's a no. This should have been a no a long time ago. Why is it taking this long to get to a no? Now it's a no, and we appreciate that. Okay? So just remember how you were at the onset of this, because why does it take so long to get to an obvious decision? And I
Legal
guess in the
reason.
future, we'll find out.
Legal reason. We have an attorney that we have to
Yeah.
follow.
Well, you went online, ma'am, and I'm not trying to turn this into a debate,
Online and what?
and said yes on a survey that I'm for this.
I never, I voted to art. The only thing I voted on was to rezone it. I didn't vote on nothing else.
Again, I'm not trying to turn.
I'm not trying to
I'm not
argue
trying to agitate the situation. I'm just saying this. We've all spoken. We're all on the record, and
Right.
rightfully so. So let's remember this in the future, when everybody looks at you, and then they make their decisions
That's fine, yeah.
based on how you went about this situation. And Mr. Mayor, respectfully, you still haven't addressed what everyone here wants to know. Like, I look at numbers, I look at them hard. You've never addressed that. Please do in some way. Not tonight or whenever you want.
I'll
but
be
please
happy
do.
to right now.
And that's it. Thank you.
You don't need to, Bill. I mean, we don't talk this, because this will go on and on and on. So it's got to be a
Yes,
stopping point.
Yeah, we gotta find one, but
Miss Lori.
Go ahead, Ms. Lori.
I just want to say I am so extremely proud of the way that we can come together in the midst of conflict. I'm new in this position. I don't know a lot. I'm learning as I go. But if you reach out to me, I'm going to respond. Email, text, phone call. I can't learn unless I experience. So I welcome it. Thank you.
young lady, you held your hand up.
Real quick, Grace Dunn, 87. I do want to know. I do, but I really am curious. Where you got that number from? 0.007.
I'll address that in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Name and address, please, sir.
It's Dustin Kittle, 2279 Santa Fe Pike, and I'll be very quick. That was really quick.
I didn't mean for it to be that quick, sorry.
Ms. Johnson had mentioned earlier that now you've got an opportunity with the moratorium with the county to where maybe some of these other groups can come in and be able to purchase this property. I would encourage the city, even though it's not an annexation situation right now, certainly if something was done with that property of that nature to where it was preserved, it could be something that's a positive for the city. And so I would encourage the city as they move forward to devote any resources that they can to ensuring that something like that could happen and helping it to be facilitated. And encourage the leadership of this city to let those entities know that something like that would be welcomed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Jeff Brewer, 41.
If I don't, I'm gonna get in trouble with her.
4164 Williamsville Pike. Now, this will be brief, and I'm just providing some information to clear some things up. The reason that nothing had ever happened on that land before is because on July the 9th, I contacted a man named Gary Edelman with the American Battlefield Trust. The American Battlefield Trust was not aware that the National Park Service Study Commission that was put together back in the 90s had designated that land as one of 38 essential battlefields for preservation in Tennessee. The American Battlefield Trust is very active, but they're active in Virginia a lot because developers are trying to gobble up land. It's a constant battle up there. So only recently have they started devoting resources and looking into this part, what was called the Western Theater. No one knew that that land was on a specific recommendation by the Congress, designated by Congress, and to get funds to purchase historic lands through the American Battlefield Preservation Act, you have to be on that designated list that was put forth by Congress beginning in the 1990s. The way that I found out that that battlefield was on that list is I spoke to Nina Skall with the Tennessee Wars Commission, and originally I got answer back from American Battlefield Trust. They couldn't help. They couldn't dispense any funds from Congress to the purchase of this land because it wasn't considered a core battlefield. Then Nina Skall went back to the Tennessee report that was done, updated in 2009, and she sent me a map. She said, guess what? It is. So no one knew that those funds were available at that time, and no one knew that this was actually designated by Congress. We knew it was a battlefield. We knew it was important, and that's not to even mention the aspect of Ashwood. but we did not know that the key metrics were in place to allow us to petition Congress for funds, and the state of Tennessee puts up matching funds. So hope that clears that up. That's where it came from.
And there's the miracle that could happen.
Yeah. All right.
We can.
No, I'm just gonna answer this lady's question and I'm done. Charles Hunter.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I love it. I love it.
I don't want you to get any more trouble than you already have.
I've tried to stay out, but apparently I hadn't by keeping my mouth shut. But apparently you can't stay out of trouble by keeping your mouth shut. Young lady, you asked where I got my number. At the point in time in which I gave that number out, yes, I made a mistake. At that point in time when I made that number, we had received, and Mr. Kittle's law firm requested it in an open records request, and we reported it and gave it to him. Some 200 pages. At that time, we had just less than 100 of the petitions that now we have. I can't tell you how many. But at the point in time that I made that comment, that's how few petitions that we had actually received via the mail. And that was just less than 100. So I took that number and divided it by our population, which is about 5,200 people. So I'll let you do the numbers. I'll run them. It's about 0.05 to 0.07 at that point in time that had actually voiced their opinion against the project. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say that you spoke to the people at the barbecue festival?
A number of the people at the barbecue festival, yes, were in favor of it because they like to see what we do.
Did their voices count in all the other?
At the time, there weren't that. At that particular meeting, when I made that comment, there were 7 people against it that were in the audience. All right. We getting out of here.
Yeah.
We're done.
I second.
What are you